granted us an expedited pathway, waiving the requirement to do phase 1 or phase 2 clinical trials, and requiring us only to, as the basis for registration, to conduct an immunobridging, so an immune comparison trial between our MVA and that of Bavarian Nordic.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by David Dodd, the CEO of GeoVax. David, very good to meet you. For investors new to GeoVax, what's the company developing and where does GEO-MVA fit into the portfolio?
First of all, thank you, Stephen. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and tell you a little bit about the company. GeoVax is a clinical stage biotech company, pre-revenue, but focused in the area of infectious disease vaccines and also addressing therapies for solid tumor cancers. And GEO-MVA fits into the perspective or into the portfolio that it's our priority. It is our lead program. It is almost exclusively on which we are focused at this particular time because of the upcoming milestones we have.
David, you're preparing for a pivotal phase 3 trial of GEO-MVA. What are the key clinical, regulatory, and operational milestones over the next 12 to 18 months?
Well, this is an excellent question, and it's a very interesting story because right now there is literally only a single supplier of MVA vaccine in the world. That's Bavarian Nordic out of Denmark. They have limited manufacturing capacity. All the other products in their portfolio are non-MVA. They're using other technologies. So the chikungunya vaccine, the traveler's vaccine, they use different technologies. So Bavarian Nordic is at manufacturing capacity. They are not expanding, and there do not appear to be any indication of expansion, plant expansion, production capability that are underway from their perspective. So there is a significant gap in what is the market demand versus what has been able to be satisfied. Just as an example, last year there were approximately about 7 to 8 million doses of vaccine against mpox delivered in the world. That included Bavarian Nordic with MVA, but it also included the supply from Emergent Biosolutions, which is not MVA, as well as KM Biologics out of Japan, which also is not MVA. But the gap, remember that 7 to 8 million doses, the gap was estimated in terms of demand specifically for MVA at 15 million doses. So there is a significant, huge gap out there that is not being met. So there is critically needed another supplier. We've taken advantage of that. Be happy to discuss the background on that, but we expect to be launching our pivotal phase 3 trial, as you mentioned, in fourth quarter of this year.
David, you have an expedited regulatory pathway. How does that help you move GEO-MVA through development more efficiently?
Yeah, again, another good question. EMA, the European Medicines Agency, as you probably know, the European equivalent to the US FDA, they granted us an expedited pathway for this. Why did they do that? They did that for several reasons. One is rather, that the MVA that we have and the MVA that is the basis of Bavarian Nordic's product, which generically is known as MVA-BN. We refer to ours as GEO for GeoVax MVA. But our MVA and their MVA were derived many years ago from the same parental cell line. Hence, they were identical to start with. So it's far equivalent, basically. Equivalency is what it is. So that becomes critically important. Secondly, there is such a need worldwide for additional supply of MVA vaccine, and there is no one else who is proceeding fast as we are, that they granted us an expedited pathway, waiving the requirement to do phase 1 or phase 2 clinical trials, and requiring us only to, as the basis for registration, to conduct an immunobridging, so an immune comparison trial between our MVA and that of Bavarian Nordic among healthy adults, evaluating with two key parameters. One is neutralising antibodies, the other one is seroconversion rate. So a very low bar, recognizing that there is a critical need for more product on the marketplace, and that is where we are now advancing on track to initiate this trial, pivotal phase 3 trial, immunobridging trial. CRO is hired, the sites are identified, product is already manufactured, packaged, and released, ready to go into humans. So we're at the brink of initiating this trial right now, and we expect to initiate, as I mentioned, it before year end.
David, your commercial strategy is driven by public health and government procurement agencies rather than a traditional drug launch. How does that change the route to markets and the opportunity for GeoVax?
It actually speeds it up because you don't have the mass of customers in which you have to deal with. There are procurement agencies around the world. Many people are familiar with within their own nation, let's say the Strategic National Stockpile. In the US, the HHS governs it. The UK has, through their biosecurity entity, they have also a stockpile. Israel has a stockpile. Saudi Arabia has a stockpile. The EU through HERA has a stockpile. UNICEF has one, which is not tied to any particular nation, but it basically is another one. It's tied in with Gavi, which is known as the Vaccine Alliance. Together, they have initiated. So there are multiple stockpiles around the world, not only against for use in mpox, but the same vaccine is also what is utilized against smallpox. So it's a pox virus. And so many nations have these stockpiles not because of mpox, but because of the potential biological threat or the weaponization of smallpox as coming after people. That's been underway, and these stockpiles have existed going back to right after 9/11 when the U.S. established their first one. So there's a recognized need. Militaries deployed around the world. They're exposed to the risk of this. So not only from mpox, but also from smallpox threat. So there are these various agencies around the world. We keep it quiet because we don't want to scare people, frankly, but they are out there and they need more product. And we're expected to be, and we think we will be the first expanded supplier globally of MVA vaccine.
Well, David, I hope you'll keep us updated with your progress with that. Thank you very much for the introduction today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
David Dodd, the CEO of GeoVax.